Chapter 4 Velocity Zero. Upon Mino's search for the distress beacon's switch, a small red circle was on a bell-shaped logo located at the top right of the screen. Mino wondered if she was too busy to notice she had received a message. She selected the bell symbol as a block of text appeared on screen. Urgent message from the Data Control Center. The message was delivered 50 minutes after they crashed. The fact that Emmy hadn't addressed this message during their hours of downtime irritated her. She selected the message and was met with an electronic voice. If you have endured the barrage of asteroids, you are now considered criminals in the eyes of the Data Control Center. By crossing the cosmic belt's borders and not accepting our communication to identify yourself, you must surrender or be eliminated when seen on sight. Mino swiftly switched off the message. She had heard enough. Not even a week had passed, and already they were felons. The thought gave her a massive headache. All of this would have been prevented if Emmy hadn't ignored the message. With frustration, she commenced the distress beacon and headed out with her essentials, her witch hat with a crescent moon, and a purple umbrella. The Night Witch descended the Firebird's ramp and stepped down on the magenta desert. Jagged stones pierced through the dunes. Her boots sank into the sands and peered upon the night sky. Stars sparkled, and 3 of Gaia's moons gave her a wave of nostalgia. Various skies on alien worlds always gave her a sense of wonder. The thought had her exhilarated to travel to the next neighboring planet. However, this wasn't the time for sightseeing. She found Emmy on the ground, snoring loudly as a hurricane, and made a sand mound for a pillow. Mino couldn't help to find it adorable, which, unfortunately, she had to ruin. She summoned a shadowy hand and had it reach over to Emmy, gently tapping her cheek by the palm of its hand. The bodyguard spontaneously woke up and swung at the limb, but Mino disengaged her hobby fast enough that she only swiped the air. A sigh had left Emmy and was crossed to be awake and asked wearily, "What do you want?" Mino fixed her hat and leaned towards Emmy, using her umbrella for support. "What I want is for you to listen. If this is about the message I didn't pick up..." Emmy sat up from the sand and brushed it off of her. "I don't want to hear it." "So you did know!" Mino exclaimed. Emmy replied, "I didn't want to ruin the risk of answering any shady calls that could potentially be a scam." "Whoever in their right mind would tell you that type of order?" Mino asked, but her bodyguard did her usual response by raising an eyebrow and continued to remain silent. "You could have shown this to me at least." "You would have told me to remember what I told you about these types of messages. Besides, I thought you'd get to it anyway. It's your ship after all." She gave a lazy, haughty expression of Mino. Mino's frustration boiled over and let it all spill. "I most certainly wouldn't have discarded it. You know for a fact I was busy ensuring the Firebird was in working order." Emmy's stoic attitude wavered. The sudden outburst threw her off. "For God's sake, take this seriously. As low stakes as you make it out to be, clearly it backfired for all of us." Emmy growled and narrowed her eyes as an annoyed sneer encroached on her face. "Whatever. Now do you mind? Your bodyguard needs her beauty sleep if you want me to do my job," she apathetically said. A disgruntled groan left Mino once more, and relented, not keen on prolonging the argument any further. "Fine. Like there's anything to do," she flatly said. Without a reply, Emmy laid back on the mound of sand, concealing her sour expression, like a child crossed with their mother. Mino sighed quietly. Her rant had fallen on deaf ears once again, and stared longingly at her sleeping bodyguard. "So, what you're saying... we'll have to sit back and wait?" A familiar voice was heard from behind. There Alana sat on a pink, jagged rock, piqued by the whole situation. "What gave you that impression?" Mino asked in an exhausted yet soft tone. "I don't know. Maybe the lack of enthusiasm from you guys?" She replied, and a smile emerged. "Lack of any good news. Oh, and probably the ship just crashed with its wings crumpled up were big indicators." Mino leaned to her left. The Firebird's wings were worse than she imagined. They were shredded. either from the asteroids or from the crash. Yes, unfortunate, isn't it? She asked defeatedly. Hey, it's not all bad. Alana tried to cheer her up. It's not often that we'd be on an alien planet. The witch replied with a mellow, and followed up with a question. Not going to try and run and escape, are you? The young woman could only chuckle. To where? It's not like I can run anywhere in this wasteland. True. You have a point, Mino said. Alana hopped up from her stone seat and headed for the Night Witch. So, what do we do now? Make sandcastles or sand angels? Enjoy the night sky? Probably those are our only options. Alana sighed. I guess so. The young woman examined the damaged starship. You think we have to ditch your ship? Don't be absurd. I'm not abandoning my ship. It just needs, how would you humans say it, elbow grease. There was an expression of doubt shrouded on Alana. It was to be expected whenever anyone mentions the Firebird. Her response threw her for a loop. I'm in the same boat as you are. Your ship is neat, and I do like how it looks like a shark. Mino was left dumbfounded. Obviously, by the Firebird's comparison to a sea creature, left her staggered by the admiration. Thanks, she said, unsure if Alana was patronizing her, though from what she could surmise, the young woman's reaction was genuine. The Night Witch quickly brushed the apprehension away and pretended she didn't listen. However, it was more of a challenge when Alana continued to use her mouth liberally. Say, have you guys been on this planet before? She asked. Just asking. You give that vibe. Been to Gaia? Mino raised her eyebrow. Course, me and Emmy were here mainly for, well, not sightseeing, if that makes sense. Okay, Alana replied curiously. Then when did you guys come here? I never heard of any ship leaving the solar system. At least from what the collective had said online. Mino pondered and searched through her memories. I believe we came to this planet here before the collective took over Earth. Alana's eyes widened. Since the 18th century? That's several centuries ago, she exclaimed. Wait, would that mean Emmy is... She pointed over to the sleeping bodyguard, snoring loudly. Old? Yes, she's old. As for why she looks young, let's just say she was in literal ice. Oh, well, that explains a lot, she said. Well, is there anything of note about Gaia? 'Cause I doubt I'll find a travel guide here. From what I remember, this area where we stand was a lush jungle. Mino poked the ground with her umbrella. But from what I saw, not all of the jungle was blown to smithereens. Oh, that makes sense. Slowly, the gears turned in Alana's head and realized what the Night Witch said. Wait, blown up? Since I've answered your questions, Mino instantly changed the subject. An ominous tone was present. After all, my questions aren't going to answer themselves, Miss Garcia. The sudden statement threw Alana off, and slowly she realized where the conversation was heading. Oh, right. You don't need to worry, my dear. We have plenty of time to waste. I think it's fair you answer my questions, Mino began. Alana sighed. Please don't tell me I have to be stuffed back in that cell. A small titter left Mino from the young woman's assumption. You won't, as long as you behave and explain truthfully. And you're still hung up about that? Alana snapped. Frustration crept into her voice. Mino met her with a direct, no-nonsense glare. She slowly stepped over to Alana, deliberately aiming to make her uncomfortable. Miss Garcia, of course I'd be hung up. In fact, I don't see any reason to trust your half-baked lies. If you want to feel any sense of security around me, you should tell the truth. Otherwise, well, you'd be in an unfortunate position to be on the receiving end of this interrogation. Without warning, she spawned limbs circled around the two, each tipped with sharp fingers that could tear anything within reach. Alana gulped. It was clear to Mino her bluff was working. However, her stowaway's attention shifted away from her as she stretched their arm and pointed behind the Night Witch. Would that include them? Mino assumed she was attempting to change the subject, but a distant stampede was heard. Curiosity got better of the Night Witch. She turned on her heel, and there, a group of the planet's inhabitants rode on beasts that raced towards them. It was hard to make out the details from the distance due to the dark, but what she gathered were lizards riding on some sort of headless bear. Seems like they're interested in my ship. You stay behind me and let me do the talking. Why? First you threatened me, now you're trying to protect me? Alana quizzed in frustration. We're meeting the Gaia's natives, the Cergons, and either they're welcoming us with open arms, or they're willing to use those rifles aimed directly at us. You better hope it's the former. It gave the young woman pause, and Alana backed behind Mino. Right, staying behind you. Mino headed forward in defiance as the squad of animals came to a stop. It was dark and hard to view, but she figured they were riding Quensar tigers. There were ferocious, sharp teeth stuck out from their squid-like mouths, and were ready to pounce to fill their appetite. But it wasn't what had Mino worried as she eyed the riders shrouded in shadows, the Cergons, armed with kit-bashed rusty blasters. She put on a brave face, cleared her throat, and commenced the conversation. Greetings! I see you spotted my ship. A loud blast came from one of the riders as the laser bolt whizzed by the Night Witch's ear. She stopped in her tracks as the shooter held the smoking plasma rifle. The main Cergon with the rifle had his beast steadily trotted over to Mino, entering the Firebird's lights, and had his gun aimed right at her. Understand this, off-worlder. We have dealt with people like you who weasel out through words. A stern, mature voice came from the rifleman. Now, if you don't want to get hurt, heed my words carefully. Yeah, you scracks. Give us your crap and surrender. A young voice from the group interrupted, a more aggressive, commanding, yet obnoxious tone. Or you'll face the wrath of the Uiwaka clan. A smaller, red-scaled Cergon yelled, and was more ripe in comparison to the crowd. The rifleman pouted and yelled back to his brother. Thank you, Oros, but your help isn't needed right now, he said aloud, yet still in a reserved tone. The group of Cergons attempted to hide their amusement, all while a low whine was heard. Regardless, my brother is right. Surrender now and give up what you consider necessary. Mino scoffed. The thought of giving up her resources to the Cergons bothered her, especially when she has another mouth to feed. I can give only a small portion of rations if that's what your tribe is looking for. We don't want your rations. We just want your equipment and weapons. The Cergon elaborated. That was where she drew the line. Rations were one thing, but handing away the Firebird's equipment would have been foolish. I apologize, but I can't and won't give up my equipment. They're too vital to give away, she firmly stated, aware of the rifleman's annoyance, yet unsurprised by the response. Don't you sympathize with our position? We just crashed here on your planet, and you're asking me to gut my ship? Everyone struggles, my lady, the rifleman replied mockingly. You're no different from the rest we stole who crashed here. And you think I'd be more willing to listen after what you said? Mino asked. I don't expect you to. All I want is for you to listen and weigh your options. The rifleman glared and locked his eyes with Mino. She locked eyes at him, concluding there was no other way to convince him and his siblings to not take drastic actions. Mino sighed and prepared for the eventual counterattack. But Alana took her out of the focus as she began to say, Mr. Cergon, I think you should stop your kid from doing something stupid. Mino's attention was shifted over to wherever this kid was, and soon he went over to where Emmy was snoring away on the ground, unaware of the whole debacle. They unsheathed their dagger and aimed it directly over her bodyguard's throat. Oros, what are you doing? The rifleman exclaimed. That lady with the funny voice is nothing but talk, Yuka. Oros brandished a dagger, standing over the sleeping Emmy. Let me use their friend for blackmail. That'll make them complacent. The rest of his siblings began to whisper to each other, whether Oros was bluffing or crazy enough to take a life. Though Alana was worried for their bodyguard. Are we just gonna let... Alana stammered, but Mino put her hand up to quell the situation. She'll be fine, Mino nonchalantly stated. We should be more worried for ourselves. What? Why? Alana asked in a perplexed tone. I mean, yeah, we should, but that kid has a knife over her throat. Miss Garcia, do you think I'd bring along someone who wouldn't have a hobby for this kind of mission? Mino said. She didn't give Alana a chance to even retort, immediately replying, "No? Then there you go." "We are getting off topic." The rifleman named Yuka was losing his patience. "We Yuiwaka clan do not intend to waste more time with Outworlders. Give us what you claim is essential, and we'll keep you alive." "I'm sorry. We'll be glad to negotiate terms of trading our resources, but all this aggression isn't necessary. Why not we just sit down, have some tea, and discuss like civil—" Mino was interrupted. She heard a low hum sound as the breeze picked up. The wind grew more and more aggressive, and she had to place her hand on her witch hat before it flew off. The ground quaked with sand dancing below their feet. Yuka, Oros, and the rest of the Cergons' eyes widened, horrified by what had come. Emmy was still snoring. Typical. Mino and Alana searched for what was causing such panic. They soon both found their answer and saw a giant cubical ship blocking the sky. The Cergon became less focused on them and more worried about the ship. Their Quensar tigers followed a similar demeanor, despite the natives' efforts to calm their beasts and themselves down. However, the attempt was in vain. "So, that distress call you sent," Alana said. "You think they're here to help us, right?" Mino wasn't so sure. She knew it was a ship that might have caught the distress call. The ship was massive, no bigger than those cargo ships back home. The Night Witch narrowed her eyes to get a closer examination. She found white foreign text on a red stripe that went across the ship. Her mood went from annoyance at how late their rescuers were to more worried when she read the bold text on the side of the ship. Data Control Center.